It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Katherine Hutchinson-Hayes. Hello, Katherine. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. It's nice to have you here.
It's an honor.
So we've got lots to talk about today. I'm looking at your bio. You've got a book out called God's Little Black Dress for Women, How to Put on the Full Armor of God Without Losing Your Femininity. It's a very interesting title, and I want to get into that. Before we get into that, let's just talk a little bit about you, and we'll give people a little bit of your backstory. So as well as being an author, you're a speaker, educational consultant, and an editor. What kind of speaking do you do?
Yeah, I speak from small groups to large groups. I'm keynoting at a women's retreat in November. I'm a workshop leader at an upcoming writers conference. So my speaking ranges from small groups at classes where I'm teaching something in the publishing industry, or I often speak to Christian groups, especially my sweet spot are women and young people. So I'm speaking at least once a month to a women's group.
Okay, speaking about what kind of topics are you
sometimes I'm speaking about education. I've tapered that down more because now I seem to be speaking more about things in the publishing industry. So I'm a freelance editor and an author. So I just got through doing some workshops on writing dialogue for thrillers. I'm a thriller writer. And I also did a class at Killer Nashville. It was on speaking, how to take your career as an author into speaking engagements, and then how to come across as a professional speaker. So I speak on things that have to do with writing and the publishing industry, and also I speak to groups that are Christian-based, and I'm speaking about Christian living, self-improvement, that sort of thing.
We get lots of authors on this show and on our video show. There is an enormous amount of books being published out there now, particularly with self-publishing.
Yes.
What is the biggest challenge that you have run into, or that the people that you speak to run into, with regards to publishing their work?
So that's a great question. In fact, I've spoken with two authors today regarding that. The challenge is to decide whether you are going to do self-publishing or you're going to go with a traditional publisher. And so there are pros and cons to both. Like you said before, the market is flooded because of the access to publishing, and now it's not as expensive as it used to be to self-publish your book. Anybody can get up and in 2 minutes throw a book up online somewhere. So with self-publishing, if you're going to do it, it has to be done really well, either through an actual company, a traditional publishing company that has an arm that does self-publishing well and gets you into bookstores and all that good stuff. But if you're going to be traditionally published, you are most likely going to have to do the hard work of getting an agent, which is a job all by itself. And then after that, that agent is just going to have to work with you to get a proposal done in order to pitch that to publishing houses. So it's lots of things that you have to do that are different. But in terms of building your platform to sell your book, those are both going to be very similar. Gone are the days where publishing houses are going to do all of the hard work for you and put your stuff out there. You're going to need to have a platform before you even approach a publisher or an agent.
Do you think it's as difficult to get an agent as it is to get published?
Oh my gosh, it is harder to get an agent, I think. It is very difficult to get an agent, and there are pros and cons to having an agent. An agent can get you through doors that you might not be able to get through. There are many publishers, they won't even talk to you unless you have an agent, and an agent does a really good job of vetting an author before they go to a publisher. But getting an agent is difficult because they're bombarded by people. And so often it's not just what you know, it really is who you know sometimes. I got my agent, my first agent, I'm now agentless, I'm looking for an agent, but the first agent I got, who was fabulous, I got her through word of mouth. It was through my work I did with a firm, with a publishing company that spoke to her about me, and she approached me. She left the industry, and so now I'm shopping for another agent. But it is difficult.
Well, it's kind of a catch-22, isn't it? Because presumably if you get an agent and you go through all of that to impress an agent, they don't guarantee that they're going to get you published, do they?
No, they do not. And sometimes they may love your proposal, they love your book, and they just are unable to find a home for your project. So I've had clients where I'm working with them because I'm a book coach, and I freelance with a couple of companies where I work with authors. And so sometimes we just look at the proposals to see what is it about the proposal that maybe is not getting the interest of a publisher. Sometimes it's your marketing plan. They don't feel like you have the handle on your audience in order to be able to push that book. And sometimes it just needs tweaking there. Sometimes it's something like changing your format or changing the way that you pitch it. And sometimes the timing of your book is just that could be a whole nother show, because sometimes it's just not the right time for that particular project.
How many books do you have published at this point?
So at this point, I have 2 books that are published, and I have a book that will be coming out in 2024. That's my first thriller, and then I have another thriller coming out probably about a year after that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the current book, God's Little Black Dress for Women. It's a great title. Why don't you give us a synopsis of the book? Yes. Yeah. So the quick and fast story is, this book came out of my many talks with my children. I'm in a blended family. My husband and I have 7 children between both of us. And I brought children into the marriage. He brought children into the marriage. Only 4 have ever lived with us at one time. But we've always had a household of all girls. And this book came out of me being a mom, trying to talk to my girls about how to be women in this world. I'm a Christian, and so that I brought them to church, and they just never understood how the Bible was applicable to what they were going through. And so my way of conveying that was breaking it down to like the armor of God being like a black dress. And it's something that is universal thanks to Coco Chanel. And it was something where I would use fashion. I would quote designers and say, hey, it's not that different from what this designer said and felt. Fashion is not something that just exists in dresses. It's the way we live. It's what's happening. It's how you dress for this world. And here's how these Christian concepts apply to what you're going through now. So would this be a book on how to dress properly, like a how-to book?
It's a spin on fashion, and so every chapter begins like with a quote from someone in the fashion industry. But it's not how to really physically dress, putting yourself together that way. It's about how to put on the things that you need in order to be successful as a woman.
Okay, but not necessarily wearing a black dress all the time.
No.
So the inspiration for this book came from your blended family, your kids?
Came from my kids, yeah, just giving them advice in how to prepare themselves for the world, how to prepare themselves for jobs, the marketplace, interacting with friends and colleagues and all of that. Because we had children that were various ages, entering different stages of life, entering the college, entering the workplace, entering school for the first time. So my talk to them all was a little different. At this stage, it's important for you to dress with humility. In this place, it's important for you to be armored up with having good customer service skills, or knowing how to speak to people, knowing how to dress physically, to be appropriate.
That brings up a point I want to make. How do you determine what is appropriate for what you're going for? Because some people have a natural sense of what they should wear in certain occasions, and other people haven't a clue.
Yeah, it's helping our young people to understand situational awareness, that just because you are into goth, culture, doesn't mean that you take it into your law office. You're dealing with all kinds of customers who may not understand that. It won't translate into your work. It's not going to help you in your career. So find other ways to be yourself than to, get a face tattoo. I'm not hating on tattoos, but if there's certain things that you want to do in life, it's just going to hold you back if you put yourself together a certain way.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the reason that I brought that up was there was that whole controversy about Fetterman wearing hoodie and shorts in Congress. And,
right.
Then finally they reversed it and put the dress code back, which I think is a good idea. I mean, I think that this is the representatives of our government, and they should dress respectfully, if not about themselves, at least for the other people. If somebody takes the time to put on a suit and tie, or women to get dressed properly, and he comes in looking like, a slob, it's disrespectful to the other people, I think. So I agree. I agree that, people need to dress for the occasion, whatever it may be. Okay, there's something on your bio that I wanted to ask you about. It says you're a member of Word Weavers International. What is that?
Yeah, Word Weavers International is a Christian-based critique group for authors and industry professionals. And it's actually a group that took my writing and my career to the next level. And I learned about them in 2016, shortly after I published my first book. I went to a conference in the Blue Ridge Mountains in Nashville and learned so much about this particular group. In fact, I'm about to teach at a conference hosted by Word Weavers in 2 weeks from now. But Word Weavers International, what it does is it really helps an author understand the critique process. And it's a lot of what you see what you wouldn't see behind the scenes in a publishing company, or with agents or professional editors. And it's a way for an author, no matter what stage in the career, to know how to get a good critique and know how to give a good critique. So when you're being critiqued, you're silent, you're not defending yourself, you're not giving feedback, you're not doing any of those things unless someone asks you a direct question. And then in the same instance, as someone who's giving a critique, you know what it is to start with the positive, and then you know what it is to find something that you can critique and be constructive so someone can be better, and then to end with something positive. Because getting a critique is really difficult, no matter what stage of the game you're in. So in order to buffer it and to make sure that you don't feel completely discouraged, it's really important for someone to also give you something that's uplifting. And it's something that I've taken and translated even into my editing career. I know that when I critique someone's work, it's really hard for them to hear that it's not perfect. And so I make sure that I also buffer that with, I love this, you're doing this really well. I'll put like a little heart emoji to just show there's a balance in a critique.
Is there one particular thing that you see over and over again that a first-time author makes as a mistake?
Yeah, good question. One of the biggest mistakes that first-time authors make, and myself included, is writing with lots of cliches. And we don't trust that we are very creative. A lot of times we don't trust our own voice. We're trying too hard to sound like other people. So the best thing you can do is sound like yourself. Don't overwrite. I think a lot of authors, not seasoned authors, but new writers, tend to overwrite. So they want to come off as sounding flowery and doing lots of run-on sentences. But the best thing you can do is be crisp and clear in everything that you're trying to convey.
We're just about out of time. Now, the book, God's Little Black Dress for Women, is that out? Has it been released?
Yeah, that was released in 2016. It comes two ways: in a small book, which is just a book itself, and then in the book with a workbook component for you to do all the work. And it's available on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com and Ingram, and there are a couple of small bookstores that also carry it.
And you said you've got something in the works right now?
Yeah, I'm really excited about my debut thriller. I'm really not a chick flick kind of a girl. I'm kind of a shoot 'em up, bang bang kind of person. And so I'm excited about this book called A Fifth of the Story. And it's about 3 CIA agents whose mission goes really bad when they're off in Africa. And they come back to things that are really bad in the United States. And the environment that they thought was going to protect them is no longer doing that, and they have to, there's like a ticking clock going on. They have to find out what's happening, who is trying to destroy them and their agency before they're harmed, their families are harmed, and tremendous wrong is done to the intel agencies. It's a story near and dear to my heart because of what my husband did in his Army career.
Oh, okay. Do you have an expected date for that?
Yes, that book is being published by Endgame Press under the imprint of Harambe, and that publication date is February 27th of 2024.
Okay, just a few months away.
Yes, I'm excited.
Okay, well, Katherine, we got to wind this down. Thank you so much for coming on. The last question, do you have a website you want to give out?
Yes, I would love for people to connect with me. I absolutely love our readers and our community, and there are tons on there for people to check out. So it's www.drkatherinehayes.com. Real easy. And Katherine is spelled Katherine, and Hayes is Hayes.
Okay. And there's links to all of your work there and where people can buy the books, yeah?
Yes, and there's also information about the upcoming book. There's all that good stuff. And for people, if they decide to stop by, I have a special promo code for them. And if they just put in Coleman 2023, they will be able to get a free item.
Oh, like Douglas Coleman show? Coleman?
Yes.
Coleman 2023, okay. We'll put that in the show notes. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was nice meeting you and nice chatting with you. Best of luck with everything you're doing.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you for being a great host.